Good afternoon. Look at this down, so it's like right in my eyes. For 40 years, it has been the mission of Jewish Family Service in Orange County to provide support, assistance, and encouragement to marginalized community members whose needs are often overlooked and even disregarded. Whether those needs include emotional support, daily living assistance to remain in the comfort of their own home, connection to financial resources, or opportunities for socialization, JFS offers every individual respect and compassion as we work with them to overcome the challenges they face. Inclusion and social justice are inherent in everything we do, and of course, our doors are open to the entire community. In 2012, we began to provide trauma-informed case management services specifically to Holocaust survivors. In 2018, a grant from the Jewish Federation of North America enabled Jewish Family Service to offer 2 unique programs to a group of 30 Holocaust survivors living in Orange County: a holistic self-care program and the Expression Through the Arts program. The goal of the holistic self-care program was to help these older adults strengthen their ability to deal with grief and trauma through nonverbal coping skills. Self-healing techniques were taught during 24 small group sessions, as well as in-home sessions that included family caregivers. The goal of the Expression Through the Arts program was to provide Holocaust survivors a voice in sharing their stories through songwriting and the arts. For the music project, 10 survivors met one-on-one every month with a musician from Sage Arts to develop their own unique piece of music. An additional 20 survivors met individually with a local art therapist to develop a personal work of art. The culmination of the Expression Through the Arts program was a concert performance of the musical selections composed by musicians and the survivors they worked with, in conjunction with a gallery display of the individual works of art created. Today, Jewish Family Service continues to provide case management, counseling, and other supports to approximately 18 Holocaust survivors and their families and caregivers. Please consider being a part of this wonderful agency and all we provide for our entire community. Never doubt that a small gesture by thoughtful and dedicated community members like you can change the world. If you want to touch the past, touch a rock. If you want to touch the present, touch a flower. If you want to touch the future, touch a life. Please consider supporting JFS and its mission by visiting the JFS table in the atrium and learn more about how we touch many futures. Now I'd like to read a poem by Emma Lazarus that you may be familiar with, named The New Colossus, about the Statue of Liberty. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs that stride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome, her mild eyes command. The air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame, keep ancient lands, you storied pomp, cries she, with silent lips, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lit my lamp beside the golden door. The poem is now permanently linked with the Statue of Liberty and is known worldwide. Now, I would like to introduce you to Pippa Carey, the winner of the Jewish Federation Stop the Hate essay for 2023, who will be reading her brief poem, Dear Emma.
Lazar's poem, Back with Carrie. Oh dear Emma, how can a country that used to have such open arms change so greatly? A country that would show people light when there was thought to be none. How we have changed so much. If you were here, you would cry. You would cry lakes of tears. We once allowed people to leave dangerous places to start a new life here. America was a safer place than many others. War and hatred is what we are today. One of the grand symbols of America was the mighty woman with the torch. She stood tall and bravely to show people hope. Now she stands at Ellis Island to show how America has changed. We no longer accept many other people, for when people move to this country, they are picked on, treated badly, called names, and people act as if they are nothing. Back when Ellis Island was still open, people were still accepted, no matter where they're from. Now if they're different and from another country, or their family is, they're bound to be bullied. Oh dear Emma, I hope this stops. I want things to be better than they are now, where everyone is accepted. I want to live in a world where the Statue of Liberty is still a sign of hope.
Thank you so much, Pippa. Thank you so much, Nikki. I appreciate that. Now, I would like to get our panel up here. As they approach the stage, I would just like to remind everybody that Jewish Family Service has some snacks out there for the after event, if you'd like to grab some refreshment after the panel. All right? So, in just a moment, we'll have our panelists. I'd like to introduce, I guess it's a particular order because we're going to go left to right. All right, so this is Timothy Guterman. Timothy Guterman. Timothy wrote and edited the film you just saw. Over here, we have Kelly McKenzie, my bad. She is a singer and songwriter with Sage Arts, and she worked with Tibor. You saw her in the film, and she wrote that incredible song. Next up, we have Colette Ruoff. She is the founder and the president of Sage Arts. And next to her, we have Eileen Cutler. She is one of the filmmakers. If you were paying attention, you could have seen her in the film in various locations. She's also a photographer. Sitting next to her is Tibor Sptiz. Tibor is our Holocaust survivor. And I'd like to point out that you might notice at the end of the film, the other 4 survivors in the film have passed away. So it really highlights the importance of listening to what Tibor has to say today. And last but not least, at the end, we have Tim Miller. Tim Miller is one of the filmmakers from Big Chief Entertainment who helped us, who wrote the film and helped us get it here, he filmed the film and helped us get it here at the Mount. And I would just like to say the Mount is very pleased to see things come full circle and that we finally have this wonderful film here in the very stage and the very auditorium where it was filmed. So where the original concert was. So that being said, I am going to hand the mic over to someone who is a little bit more dynamic. And we're going to get this party started.
Thank you, Matt. Is this working? Yeah, here we go. All right, well, I want to start out by mainly thanking Matt for having this inspiration so many months ago and making this happen. You and all of your colleagues here at Mount St. Mary, we're quite grateful for this moment, and it's really special to be back on this stage where so much magic transpired. As you can imagine, I've seen the film hundreds of times, but every time I see it, it still brings me a tear and makes me quite grateful to have been a part of a project that brought so many amazing people together and has such a strong and important message. So thank you so much for having us. I love that there are students here. We're hopeful that we'll be able to hear from you today, asking any questions or making any, having any comments about this work. We hope that this film and this project has inspired you in some ways to consider, well, as a filmmaker, what we are about is telling stories, and we all observe important things every day in our lives that we feel the need to shed light on. And it's particularly poignant that we are here during this time when the world is in a state of crisis in a way that we haven't seen maybe in our lifetimes, and there's a need for telling those stories, there's a need for coming together, a need for finding a way forward that is peaceful. And thank you to Jewish Family Services for this collaboration. In particular, Paula Blumenau, who is here in the audience, she made so much of this magic happen in the pairing of the songwriters and the subjects. So thank you, Paula, for that. So thanks to the students, thanks to Mount St. Mary, and now I'm going to turn the mic over to my colleague, Tim Miller.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Thank you, Eileen.
Sure.
It's just so great to be back with all you guys.
Thank you.
I'll have to stop it now.
Just put
No,
it
it's
on.
okay.
Tim,
Just have to hold it up
put
to
it
your
up to your
mouth.
face like this.
That's how it works.
Behind the scenes, basically. So, but no, I want to thank all the people up here on the dais because it was such a collaborative effort that we really had never even considered, basically. And a matter of fact, it might be maybe quickly we could go back and just talk about the origins of this project, and maybe Colette could pick up the talk about Sage Arts, because this is all an extension of Sage Arts, and at some point it was the right time to do the film. So why don't you, then we can pick it up right away.
Hi there, can you hear me? Okay, yeah. Well, in 2012, I fell in love with an idea. And I saw it done in Santa Fe, New Mexico, another program that honored the lives of elders through poetry and song. And young people would come and sing from the college. And to me, it just felt like the best thing I'd ever seen. And honestly, I didn't know why. I didn't know, why am I so in love? You know, maybe sometimes you fall in love and not knowing, why am I so in love, right? But it unfolded as a story for me. And it had to do with the celebration of the value of life. It was that essential. And I think we're living in a time where life has become kind of cheap. You know, there's been a little bit of a hollowing out of the sacredness of life. And so as I fell in love with this idea, I was very, very grateful to attract amazing artists. You know, the work of Kelly just blows me away. And so many of our songwriters who work so hard and so beautifully to honor the life story of individuals. We started, believe it or not, working with farmers. We honored the lives of 8 farmers in the Rondout Valley. That's how we got started. And then we honored women leaders of Ulster County. And that was the show that Elise Gold came to. She's a former director of Jewish Family Service, very dynamic woman. And she fell in love with the idea of including songwriting with the work, the wellness work you heard about earlier from Nikki, for Holocaust survivors. So it's just, it's been a beautiful journey of honoring elders of all different kinds. And I truly believe that life experience is valuable, and that there's sometimes missing connections between the generations of what that life experience was. And so anything we can do to sort of make it available in a way that's compelling. You know, I think that's one of the problems with history, right? It's like sometimes it feels pretty dry, but actually if you lived it, it wasn't dry at all, right? It was pretty dramatic. Life was pretty dramatic, no matter what. So I was so grateful to Eileen Cutler. She had been working with Sage Arts, documenting our work since the Pharma Project. And then she brought in Tim, and they started documenting our shows. And so they documented the Women's Project in a really beautiful way. And then once they saw that program, they got the idea, you know, you're just showing the tip of the iceberg here, you know, the fruit of a very long process. We want to show how this actually happens. The magic really is in the relationship between the songwriter and the elders, that intimacy and that collaborative, co-creative energy that emerges. That's really the magic of our program. Tim, did you want to pick it back up?
Between Eileen and I, because I was inspired by the program.
Yeah,
and I was
right.
inspired by Eileen, who had for 2
Yep.
years actually covered this as a video
Right.
project. And I think as we started thinking about you coming to us and saying, we're doing Holocaust survivors this time, we thought, basically,
Yeah.
maybe we should start videotaping this, having no idea where this might take us, basically.
And
Okay.
I just want to say that it's such a big, as Colette is saying, it's telling us it's such a big story, right? It's a huge project, and we filmed for many, many months, and then we have this wealth of footage that we then turn to this guy to say, can you unravel it and put it together and make it a film that could be an hour long for PBS. And Tim Guterman did that. So we would love to hear about your process, Tim. You know.
My process.
Talk about the trailer first, because the first thing we had to do is actually sell this in. And I think, as Colette and I had some meetings with the PBS station in Albany early on, thinking it was just a concert, basically, and we would film the concert and we would hopefully broadcast that. And then we really found our angel in Albany, the program director there, who said, wow, this is much more. And we said, really? Basically, I don't think we even thought about it being a complete film. And he became indeed our angel and brought it to PBS. That's where we got our funding. But Tim, talk a little bit about the evolution of this, because I think it was, you know, I think we knew there was something there, and it was a matter of trying to find the heart.
Yeah. I mean, it was just that the project was bursting with story. When you consider the survivors, Tibor's story is just incredible. All of their stories were incredible. So, combine that with learning about the creative process, about the songwriting process, there's just so much potential there that I feel like the whole thing just kind of fell together largely. It was kind of like Michael said in writing his song, he doesn't even know where it came from. I felt the same way, that choices were given to me, creative choices were coming from outside of me, and so I had to do the process, follow the process, and it just really all came together pretty simply, I think. A lot of time, I probably put 800 hours into it, but it was just a pure pleasure and honor to be a part of it.
You did an amazing job weaving the story, Tim. We're so grateful for that, because we just really didn't know what the structure was going to be until you took your artistic approach to it, and it was magic. Why don't we hear from Kelly about her part of this project?
Sure, thanks, Eileen. I've been a singer-songwriter for many years, and then in 2016, I got involved with Sage Arts on that Farmer project. And it's very different writing a song that's coming from you, that's about whatever you want it to be about, compared to having someone entrust you with their life story and then being able to turn it into a song. And every single project I've done with Sage Arts, it's a leap of faith. It's a complete leap of faith as an artist that the song is going to arrive, that it's going to, that you're going to find it. And in all of the projects that I've been involved with the organization, and I know with the other songwriters too, the song always does arrive. And Tibor's, as I said in the film, was particularly challenging because his story and all of the survivor stories are so deep and big and just momentous that I had a hard time. I had like a block with the lyrics. Just like could not. Everything I wrote was not good enough. Not good enough. Not good enough. Until at a certain point, I gave myself permission to just say, okay, these are placeholder lyrics, you know, and then keep going, and then that opened it up. And then also, of course, there's the incredible, incredible joy of spending time with Tibor and hearing the stories, and I mean, so much. You can only put so much in a song. And in the film version, you don't even hear the whole song. I mean, there's he and his wife Noemi, who's here. They defected. You know, after finally the war was over, then the Soviet Union invaded Slovakia and occupied it. And so at a certain point, he and Noemi defected. I mean, there's just this, it's a movie. It's a panoramic movie, their life story that we tried to get into the little nut of a song. But Tibor should talk more now.
My main advantage was that I was liberated, or Holocaust ended up, Second World War ended up in 1945 when I was 15. For the last 3 years we were on the death row. Any day could be my last one. The last 200 days we lived like furry animals in the forest, in a hole under snow and ice, and in very high mountains between Poland and Slovakia, and it saved us. We survived, which means that we must have been really both physically and mentally healthier. I studied chemistry, and after being 68, I became a professional artist. And only then I was able and ready to start, I would say, documenting my feelings and history of my life, because I was too busy until then, even if I was giving lectures, speeches, and I already became a subject of a book of an art historian. This action surprised me by being different from any documentation of Holocaust event took place. Most of them were practically describing horrors in a factual way, describing terrible treatment of human beings, murder of millions, and practically showing inhumanity by human beings. This approach of this film, of those people who made the film and who made possible this film, was different. It went through emotions. It went to the lives of people who went through those terrible times and had enough strength to survive it, or were lucky or skillful to avoid being killed, as were 6 of us in our family, where about 10 times more members of the family were were murdered, were wiped out. Which means that I was partially surprised, partially grateful, and that sensitivity and humanity to show Holocaust through music, through poetry, through that channel was a pleasant surprise. I'm happy I was able to participate and follow filmmakers' instructions. And I'm still grateful because this film is different. This film will survive century or centuries of being shown, and it will be probably more educational and powerful than many other documents. And I thank you very much, first of all, for making the document, and secondly, for coming here to talk about it and appreciate it and learn from it. Because human race is not the kindest on this planet, and I hope that every cultural event or remembrance of injustice helps to move us to become better people.
We would love to open the discussion up to any questions or comments from the audience.
I saw the original concert and I found it extremely moving. And as you said, in the movie you don't hear all the songs. Was there a CD ever made of the original concert?
She can speak to that, but the one thing, the entire concert can be seen on the Stage Arts website. Matter of fact, there were 8.
Yeah, they're in video. And
The
they're
video.
videos on the Sage Arts website.
SageArts.com?
Yes, sagearts.org. We haven't done that.
It's on the charts.
These days, CDs are so out of fashion. We haven't made that investment. We should make them downloadable. Would that work for you? Like a downloadable file? Yeah. So there's that. What's that site? Anyway, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you should, if you get a chance, go to stagearts.org and see the 8
And you can,
performances.
you
And
can
you
see
can
the
download
concert.
those also.
Yeah. You can see the whole concert, like song after song on the sagearts.org. Yeah.
Okay, you got it. That happened. Yeah.
That's a question to Tibor. What advice do you have for young people today to overcome the atrocities that they faced in their lives, and how they can be resilient and live a full life full of happiness and love that you have created for yourself?
Can you repeat that, Matt?
Yeah, just repeat the
What advice does he have, Tibor, to give to other people about his resilience, of how he overcame what he has, so that he could live a life full of love and happiness, to help other people see that what they're facing now, they can also overcome and put it behind them to look for the good in all, instead of focusing on the negativity? What advice do you have?
Okay. She wants advice from Tibor for the students, for the young people. How to be happy.
If I understood this question properly, you asked me to conclude or produce some kind of a short advice to young people how to handle this terrible subject, correct?
Yes.
As you might have seen in your life, there are a lot of things called propaganda or deceit. You see something else, you hear something else, you conclude something else. This existed in nature since, jungle life. It's called mimicry. Nazis, I was 4 years old when Hitler took power, and ever since, and because we spoke a lot of languages, in Europe you have to, we understood German as well, and when Goebbels started giving all kinds of lectures how to wipe out Jewish race, how to wipe out Slavic race, how to wipe out colored people and so on, and rearrange humankind. We also listened, because they were not really secretive about it, how to fool people into believing it. He fooled people or convinced German people on a case of euthanasia to kill their own children, to make them, because they were imperfect, and make a perfect race, things like that. And then it came extermination, they call it extermination based on insects or rodents. How to kill hundreds of millions of people in a way that people would not resist, and stop them and stop that process of killing. How to convince them to cooperate even on it. Which means that my advice, most important advice, is don't get fooled by words, by things told you, things somebody tries to convince you to do evil with a very kind, nice voice, and very nice waving flags, and even call it humanity, democracy, equality, and so on. Which means that don't get fooled. Be very critical what you hear, and rather look at the consequences of those speeches or those presented to you facts, which are not facts, but intentional deformation of reality to make you eventually collaborators in a crime.
Pretty clear.
You hear me? I want to ask Tibor if he speaks Hungarian. I myself am a Holocaust survivor. I was there. Do you speak Hungarian, Tibor? Do you hear me?
Say it again.
He's asking Tibor, do you speak Hungarian?
He's also a Holocaust
I speak Hungarian enough to understand, but I don't speak it regularly, which means that it's not the language I could communicate easily, but I could understand a lot.
I want to speak
And
to you.
I'm not Hungarian. My nationality officially is Slovak, but Slovakia used to be for last 1,000 years under Hungarian political system or some kind of monarchy, which means that German and Hungarian were official languages of Austrian-Hungarian monarchy, and naturally people who wanted to be educated had to know those two official languages. And my parents spoke Hungarian and I picked it up, but it's not fluent, and my apology for that.
Okay.
With a name like that, Tibor, you have to speak Hungarian.
Yeah, Tibor is Hungarian name.
Listen, I'm Hungarian.
And my family name is German, and I'm neither.
Tibor, what year, Tibor,
Typically European heritage.
what year did the Germans came to Slovakia? What year the German came to Slovakia?
Slovakia in 1939 was Munich Agreement, where Czechoslovakia fell apart and Germany took Czech part of Czechoslovakia. Slovakia was taken over by separatists, fascists, Nazis, and they voluntarily joined the German. They became allies of Germany, Nazi Germany, and when Nuremberg laws were issued, which eventually ended up by defining who is a Jew and by eventually defining what to do with the Jews, which means there was annihilation. In 1925, Hitler published a book very openly saying that Slovaks issued their own Nuremberg laws, which were called indexes, that eventually were stricter even than Nuremberg laws, which means that Slovakia became a Nazi country, fascist country, and even as the opportunity started in 1942, paid money, about $60, 500 Deutschmarks at the time, paid money to Germans to deport and destroy Slovak Jews to an extent that they will never come back to Slovakia, so that they could rob, they could keep the property or all the so deported and killed Jews owned before.
One more question. We were lucky that you were. They came into Hungary in 1944. I was 7 years old.
Hungary.
I was there.
It happened in Hungary. Same thing as 1942 happened in Slovakia, where people were deported to death camps. They arrived, they were told to undress, to be disinfected before they joined labor camps. But unfortunately, those showers were not warm water, even if they gave them soap and towels and so on. And poisonous gas killed them, and prisoners burned their bodies. And this, what happened in the Middle East recently in Israel, 1,300 people were murdered. That time, 10,000 people were murdered every day until the number grew to 6 million Jews, maybe 7. But other people also were murdered. About 11 million people were murdered this way, civilians, POWs, colored people, Slavic people, which means that this was a killing field in a proper sense.
I just want to clarify, the gentleman here who's asking the question said that he also was a Holocaust survivor. What's your name, sir?
George Lindenblatt.
George Lindenblatt. Let's give him a hand.
Part of the second phase of this project with St. Arts.
Yeah. So after we worked with the first...
I came here especially to Orange County. I live in Rockland County.
Right, yeah. So after we did the first project concert here with Jewish Family Service, we did a second concert with another 7 Holocaust survivors from all throughout the area. But because it was COVID, we couldn't do it in person. So we actually did a live stream from the Beresville Theater, and that was in 2021. All of those videos are also on our website, and you can see George speaking about his life, and also you can hear the song that Elizabeth wrote with you.
I'm the perpetual questioner, I guess, on campus. My name is Barbara Petrosella. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs here at the Mount. I just really want to start with an expression of gratitude. I mean, to see this and to know that our college has a role in this is a gift to us. This is a gift to us. This is a gift to our entire college community, really, to understand that by being part of the Mount, you're a student, you're a staff member, faculty, like we kind of are part of this in some way. So it's amazing to me to see it, and I appreciate, I know Matt's been talking about this since the summer, and it's been a huge project. So many people involved, Gina, all the folks in FYE, just tremendous, tremendous effort on campus. So I just filled with gratitude right now, so I want to say that, and thank you for that. But now I have a question, kind of on a totally other end of the spectrum. Colette, it strikes me that this is not, or these are not the kinds of projects that every musician wants to be part of, or is good at, if I can say. So how do you connect with artists for these various, cycles of projects that you have produced?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think we never could have started with this project, right? Because we started working with, elders in the community, farmers, women leaders, with residents of Woodstock. We did a concert in Woodstock to honor elders in Woodstock. We had a lot of experience. We had a large pool of songwriters who had done this work already when Jewish Family Service approached us to partner on this. And you can see from the film, that some songwriters were like, wow, can I actually do this? I mean, I guess what I really appreciated is how honored many of them felt, but also with that honor, this enormous responsibility, right? And I think what allowed it to be successful was that we create a community of support among the songwriters. So they don't feel, well, Kelly can speak to it, but they generally don't feel alone in it because we're meeting. You saw many scenes of the songwriters coming together. And they each invest a lot in each other's songs and in the process that they're doing with the elder. Like if they're getting stuck or if they feel like there's something in the dynamic that's challenging for them, they can get coaching from the circle of all of us. And I think that's what allows it to be, sort of more supportive than maybe it would otherwise be. Yeah. You want to add?
Yeah, I'd just also like to add that I think that when I first heard about Sage Arts, and the idea of writing a song with an elder to embody their life or a message that they had, I think there are certain songwriters that just the idea is very appealing. And then other artists, it just might not be, their thing. They might not be, or at that time in their life might not be interested. And then the film talked about the trauma-informed training that Jewish Family Service provided, but also any of the songwriters that got involved in Sage Arts, there was a Sage Arts training. This was long before we got involved with the Holocaust Survivor Project, with interview techniques, ideas for how to work with another human and interview them and create a song with them. So there was a rich resource there in training, and then, like Colette said, like a peer support kind of approach.
How did you pick the artist to go with the elder? Did they choose each other, or?
In the earlier projects, I met every single elder and I got to know them. And I was able to, sense into chemistry, that, this one would be great with that one, and that worked out pretty well. I think, most of the time those pairs worked well. When it came to this project, Paula was right in kind of the position that I'm normally in. She was the one doing the very hard work of knocking on doors and convincing people to do this project, which is not an easy ask. you're asking people to really open up about their lives. And so in this project, the fit was more geographic because we were covering such a wide range, Rockland County, Dutchess County, Orange County, Ulster County. And so we had to try to figure out, where could the songwriters go? Where were they willing to go? Where would it be natural to go? So it's kind of geography determined it more. Yeah.
But then it was magic.
It's always magic. We find the magic.
I'd like to ask Colette a question.
Oh, wait, I think there's one more.
Oh, we have a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
My question is for Tibor. I'm a chemist, artist. My question is, what are your thoughts on healing generational trauma? I'd like to know what your process was and how you feel now.
Matt, can you repeat loudly?
She wants to know about healing generational trauma. What are your thoughts, Tibor, on healing generational trauma?
Generational trauma. Any thoughts about healing generational trauma?
I don't even know what generation trauma is. I believe you mean that memories of some drastic event remain in person's emotional part, and they get mentally affected and ill. Is it correct?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Into your, and it goes into your children. You have generational trauma from your ancestors.
Oh, from your ancestors. Generational trauma from your ancestors.
No. I might have been an exception, but I have never ever suffered any trauma in my life, regardless whatever happened. And when I was 14, I was in the forest. You have seen in the movie, I was painting a picture and mentioning that I had visions and some instructions given by who knows who and what, how to live and how to survive it and how to become a witness, how to not to be caught and die in that hole. And there were some conditions I had to fulfill, which means that if it is an exception or not, I have learned in 200 days and nights to be like in a grave. You know, the dervishes, yogis, monks, and people of some spiritual trying to search for truths, universal truths. They usually fast, they get into seclusion, and they spend 40 years in that state where they start understanding higher consciousness and start listening to some messages from outside by numbing their own senses. I did ask for it, but I received it in a very high dose because I had to go over 200 days in that state, being extremely hungry because we were only eating what I was able to collect under the snow. Most of the 200 days were under the snow and ice. Those instructions were telling me how to remain healthy, mentally healthy as well as physically, but mostly those instructions contained mental exercises and understanding that the human race, and not only human race, but whatever is alive, is fighting for survival at the expense of the others. Not to get emotional about it, not to get angry about it, not to be upset about it. Try to survive and help others who are weaker and go on living, which means that I cannot recall any mental My brother was an artist. He had an artist-sensitive nature, and he suffered by those situations. I felt sorry for those people who committed those crimes, because I knew that they would have to pay for it. Which means that, I am not really a proper person to answer a question about suffering, because I refuse to suffer. My enemies, particularly Mr. Goebbels, Hitler, and Slovak, naturally copied the same thing while they were still under the fascist rules. Try to manipulate our emotions, get us into depression, into defeatism, into simply giving up resistance. Our family, our mother, myself resisted. And by resisting, trying to be successful, we survived. We could have perished easily. But I don't have in myself a minimum part of myself that would just sit on the floor and lament. And I acquired this is for young people also a good message, don't cry over the spilled milk, bring a cat. If you bring a cat, you can do at least something positive about spilled milk, which usually is a total waste. And in life, it's totally, perfectly applicable, and if you learn to do it in young age, you have a wonderful life, because life is full of all kinds of calamities.
I want to add something to answer that question on intergenerational trauma, because I'm a coach and I work with people sometimes who have trauma, right? And what I see is that there's a lot of consciousness, like consciousness is rising around the reality of intergenerational trauma and societal trauma. And how, some teachers talk about we're born into a trauma soup, a trauma world. And so there are so many sources now. There's a beautiful book on collective trauma by Thomas Hubel, H-U-B-L, who's one of my teachers. And I just think it's an awesome resource, so I recommend that for you.
I'm both an alumni now, and I now teach history here. First and foremost, I want just to commend you on such a wonderful documentary, such wonderful music. As a historian, right, I have a sort of academic definition of history as the study of the past, but as a person, there's a Hebrew word that comes to mind, which is zakar, which sort of means this living remembrance. So as musicians, artists, storytellers, survivors, what is your advice, right, for younger generations to create a better memory, right, or a more sound memory of the past? Because sometimes we have history in the textbooks, right, but there's that sort of personified level, that human level, that can sometimes come out of that. So as filmmakers, as directors, artists, producers, what advice can you give to those seeking to remember the past?
That's a great question. I wanted to add to the person who asked about how in these trying times could young people find a reason to be happy, to be inspired, to tell the difficult stories, yet celebrate life as we should. One of the things that I think is so important that I've discovered in my life doing film work is that collaboration. So I'm inspired by something and I want to tell a story and I want it to be heard, to find like-minded people who can help bring that forward in all of the different creative talents that those friends or colleagues or fellow students might have. So important. And, to celebrate the things that are hard. There's a painful history, painful memories, you know, what can you use to transform that, to make it something that can lift your spirit and give you hope? And as you can see in this project, one of those things is music, is art. Tibor's incredible art, you know, all of his pain, the pain and suffering that he says he doesn't have, which is great, which is what we want, coming through that paintbrush. You know, I've been able to be in a gallery with Tibor's paintings filling the walls and have seen, you know, the thrill of the people viewing them and the joy that that creates, even though they're painful images, they're painful memories that he's bringing forward. So to somehow transform and you know, to come together with each other with a like vision and a hope for the future is what I hope for the students. One more question. One more.
This amazing body of work is so important, and Tibor, I want to thank you for your courage, your wisdom, and your humanity. I want to thank you for your courage, your wisdom, and your humanity. I am a son of a Holocaust survivor. My father had 8 people in his family, only one survived, and my whole life we all lived with his visible pain. And I want to make a comment. I taught Holocaust studies for a number of years. Some of you may have heard me say this, but this is to the students and to the younger people, that yours are the last eyes to look directly into the eyes of those that suffered the atrocities of the Holocaust. You are the last warm blood connection to people like Tibor and others that perished in such a miserable fashion. So don't forget those memories. Don't forget this day. Because those that forget, you know the story, are possibly bound to repeat history. And so I want to thank you all again. And Tibor, where can we visualize your amazingly emotional, poignant, and powerful art? Is there a place that, because it was amazing in the movie to see what emotion your paintings evoked. It was incredible. So thank you all.
Yep. Tibor's website?
I neglected one payment and lost my website. But there are a lot of images on Facebook. Name is Tibor Sptiz. There were 2 Facebooks, but one was just kidnapped, I would say, by hackers, which made a guy of one. And if you type in Tibor Sptiz on internet, on a search engine, you will find a lot of videos. Those 2 films, one is Why We Are Here, the other one was about 7 years ago, where Canadian Slovaks sent a group of people who made a movie, and if you type in SPITZ space DVD space 01, you can see a documentary movie, 1 hour. It's in Slovak language with English subtitles. And it's exclusively about my memories of my life and art and so on. And a lot of philosophical questions in it, because the narrator was a Protestant minister, and he included also things which were a little spiritual or religious, things like that, not only art or memory of historic events. Which means that this is what the best way is to go and type in Tibor Sptiz on internet engines, and you'll get a lot of images.
Thanks, Tibor.
And videos.
Okay, Matt.
I'd also like to point out that right out those doors, you can see some of Tibor's art right in our atrium. So I would like to thank, we went a little over time, thank you for sticking around for that. And thank you to our panelists, let's give them a big hand.
did a heck of a job, and please remember that outside you can see in the atrium the event, the Strength and Unity event. Grab a stack, look at some of Tibor's art. Thank you. Hold that pose, guys.
Use both arms.
Thanks, Dean. Thank you.